Hi, I'm Kim O'Brien, otherwise known as @Dahlia Farmerama, gardener, podcaster, stage presenter, dahlia grower and florist. Congratulations for landing on the Live for 5 podcast, affectionately named for its rapid-fire 5-minute question round that reveals the innermost workings of my esteemed gardening guests. Join us as we uncover the steps they've taken up to this point in their gardening career and hear what ventures they have in store for the future. So, without any further ado, let's go Live for 5. This is a very impromptu Live for 5, and I've seen that my guest is here. If you haven't seen Live for 5 before, you're in for a treat. Stay tuned. I'm going to get my guest in now. I'm just going to invite him in. Hornby George PR says not looking forward to the -6. Now I know what you mean. It's going to be really cold, isn't it? Any advance on -6? What's it going to be like where you are? Cold. In his 3-gate hat, ready for the cold temperatures. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, you keeping warm?
Well, I've tried to today. Stay inside. It's far too cold to be doing any gardening.
Well, apart from anything, the ground is just so hard, isn't it?
It's just, yeah, nothing to be done in the garden at the moment, really.
No.
Other than looking how pretty it looks with the frost on it.
Well, exactly. I mean, sometimes nature just makes us just step back and admire it, right? So if that's the work for today, that's the work for today.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what's the temperature like? I'm having a bit of a competition. I'm saying to people to let me know in the comments what the temperature is. So it's forecast -6 here in Cambridgeshire. Can anyone beat -6, or let me know what your forecast is? What's your forecast where you are? You're in Lincolnshire, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mark?
So
yeah.
-5, but feels like -7.
Oh, feels like.
I'm all right with that. I'll stay inside with a cup of tea.
Exactly. Feels like -7. Feels like 20 with the central heating on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Heating, please.
Yeah, definitely. Right, well, thank you so much. So I should just say to everybody, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Mark, for being here. There's nothing like an impromptu bit of Live for 5, a bit of spontaneity, and this is definitely a spontaneous one. I advertised this all of about 5 minutes ago. I quickly put it on my stories. Mark, you probably haven't even had time to see my story, let alone share it.
I think you did.
Did you? Oh, well done. I salute you. I salute you for that. That's amazing. Because I literally messaged, I phoned Mark and I was like, Mark, do you fancy doing Live for 5? And he was like, when? And I said, tonight. And you were like, what time? 7 o'clock. And you're like, what time is it now? 10 to 7. So, but yeah, spontaneity is, why not, you know.
I had to get substituted from FIFA so that I could come on.
Did you?
We're in mid-match.
Oh, who substituted you?
Well, I was substituted for Mummy, so Mummy's finishing the match.
Oh, okay. I hope Mummy plays well.
Well, apparently, just as I was coming in here to come on the live with you, George shouted, Mummy's just got a player sent off. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, right. I'll make amends with George later.
Hopefully, I left him in good stead. It was 6-0 when I left. So. Surely can't lose.
Hopefully. Yeah, surely that's enough. Surely you've done enough. Okay, so thank you very much for being here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for everyone that's joining us on this, because like I say, it is impromptu. Nobody knew we were doing this live, not even us. Hello, Dash. Is that Dash?
Yeah.
Hello, Dash. What's your other one called?
Roland,
that's it. I always forget which one that is Dash. I've got it right.
Always Dash on the lives being loud.
Oh. Hi, Dash. You need to get some merch for Dash. Dash needs a matching hat. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we do Live for Five. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So for people who don't know, who don't follow Marc already, which isn't many of you, because most of you will follow Marc, because Marc's got a massive following on Instagram. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, Marc. What's your background?
So I am a full-time gardener currently. I'm a head gardener of myself at the moment, as I don't have a under gardener, as my other under gardener decided to clear off to Guernsey.
How
So
very
I'm
rude.
currently just out of order, isn't it, really? Following him, going off to live on an island. What's wrong with people? So I'm a head gardener at a 12-acre private estate in Lincolnshire, and I've been in horticulture since I was about 15. So I'm crazy, plant crazy. I think if you cut my skin, I'll bleed green.
And was horticulture something that you always knew that you were passionate about, something that you always knew that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah. When I had the careers advice meeting that you have when you're at secondary school, I said to the guy then, I was like, I want to be a gardener, and he said, right, you need to study business studies. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound much fun. I want to play with soil.
Has that ever been helpful?
No, because I've never had my own business. Definitely not.
So you've always worked as an employee on an estate for somebody?
Well, I did work experience at 15 at a local garden centre, and I started working there weekends after the work experience. And then I worked there until I finished school and started working there full time. And then I went on to work at a lawn treatment company for 5 or 6 years. And then I've been where I am now for coming up to 12 years.
Okay, that sounds really interesting, actually. And what was the most interesting part of working for the lawn treatment company? You were there for several years. What was the...
I mean, it was never what I wanted to do, really, to be honest. It was always like the job at the garden centre wasn't permanent, so it was like I needed to find something permanent, which is why I left the garden centre. And I really wanted to be a gardener, but there just wasn't anything available at the time. So I ended up finding this job with a lawn treatment company, thinking, well, it's a skill to have as part of everything else that I've got. But yeah, it ended up, life gets in the way, and I ended up being there 5 or 6 years and got to the point of I need to get out of this. It's driving me mad. I've got no passion to be a lawn treatment company, because it was literally like basically being a delivery driver is going around chucking the fertilizer on, chucking the weed killer on, and then moving on to the next one. There was no satisfaction in doing a good job. It was like, let's get as many of these done in a day as humanly possible.
Okay. And did you also find that quite intuitive to what you wanted to do as a gardener? Because as a gardener, you kind of want to intuitively be working with the environment and working with the soil and working with nature. Did you find that, sort of pouring loads of fertilizer and the weed killer and all the other things that you're putting into the soil weren't necessarily working with it?
Yeah, it was not good. The longer I did it, the more I thought, this is just, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be putting chemicals everywhere. And who needs? People don't need perfect lawns. They just don't. Not the general public.
Yeah.
And to be chucking fertilizer and weed killers on, just a small little bit of grass. And some of the, just working with the general public tends to be a nightmare anyway. But some of the places that I turned up to treat the lawns, and you just think, why are you paying £20 to have me come and treat your lawn when it's absolutely covered in dog mess? There's toys all over it, and it's just like, why are you paying for it? What is the point? Doesn't matter how much fertilizer or weed killer I put on there, it ain't going to be a nice lawn. Go spend it on something else.
Go and spend it on a pond or something that's going to improve the biodiversity in your garden.
If I put the flowers, have it in your house, or just anything. rather than fertilizer and weed killer.
But people, I think there's been a lot of progression, hasn't there, since that? I mean, you're talking about how many years ago since you did this?
Be 12 years ago then. So like since then, the whole like, I mean, even I remember that towards the end of my time there, every year you'd get to the end of the year and be like, oh, we can't spray that next year because they've banned it. We've got to use something else, then you had to learn how to use that new chemical because it wasn't quite as effective as the old chemical. So it was constantly like every year you'd be losing chemicals that you got used to using because they were being banned. So I'd be quite interested to know what they do now as a lawn treatment firm. I mean, they are, I won't say the name, but I'm sure everybody's heard of the company that do it because it's a national company. So I'd be interested to know whether they've changed their sales spiel of going towards more environmental ways, because I think that there will be a tide changing of people that don't want to have chemicals sprayed out all over their lawns.
I agree.
I'm sure that question will come up quite regularly of their customers, of saying, you know, should we be doing this?
Yeah.
Is it UK friendly? And you know, the answer would have been back in the day when I was doing it, no, it isn't.
Yeah, very interesting, Mark. I mean, people are definitely looking at a new aesthetic. The aesthetic of a garden has definitely changed. Where people wanted pristine, green, lush green lawns, the aesthetic now has changed, hasn't it? To where people want sort of more jungly, less neat edges, and more looking towards, you know, introducing biodiversity into their gardens and having sort of a bit more rugged and natural looks. So yeah, that would be very interesting. I'm just having a quick look in the comments. I saw somebody say something about a hairdresser. Joe Norfolk Bluedale Flowers has said, Mark, I think you and me have the same hairstylist at the moment.
What's that, drag through a hedge backwards? Not you, Joe, me, for sure.
I'm sure it's a compliment. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a compliment. Okay, are you ready to do live for 5? Mark, I could talk to you about this all day, but that could be a whole different podcast. Shall we do live for 5?
Let's do it. I can't read any comments. They're broken. I'm like the Jamie of this podcast.
Oh, nightmare. Okay, I'll try and read any comments as they come up, but we'll see. Right, because of our spontaneity, I've not had time to prepare anything, so I've literally just done a quick shuffle and we'll see what comes up. So, who knows? Right, we have 5 minutes on my broken timer. Are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
Are you a bag of nerves? And if not, why not?
Definitely. Okay,
good. Then we can begin. Here we go. Name the one gardening tool that you could not live without.
Secateurs.
What's your favourite plant that's growing in your garden right now?
Tetrapanax.
Oh, nice. Why do you like that so much?
It's just like otherworldly. Like it just feels like it shouldn't grow in the UK. It should be like in a jungle somewhere.
Very
so just having it in
my garden, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite otherworldly.
Yeah, nice. What have you grown in the past that you will never grow again, and why?
Oh, I could be really mean considering who I'm talking to, couldn't I?
Oh!
Go down the dahlia route.
Oh, I see. It's going to be like that, is it? Right, end live.
So you said you're going to make my dahlias work this year, so maybe we're not going down that line.
You can say dahlias if you want. I won't be offended. It's fine.
I'll go dahlias because I can't think of anything else.
Okay. And why are you going dahlias, Mark?
Because they get eaten by slugs every year in my garden when I try and plant them.
Okay, right. I will help you with that this year if we can battle those slugs. Who is the most famous person you've ever met, and where did you meet them?
Most famous person. Paul Daniels, maybe. I mean, at the height of his Paul Danielsness as well.
So we're talking like deep in the 1980s here.
Well, not quite the 1980s, probably 1990s, early 1990s.
Oh, no, you probably weren't even born in the 1980s. What am I thinking?
But yeah, he was at a local theatre. I don't know whether it was pantomime or whether he was doing a show, but him and Debbie McGee were there, and my best friend's mum was the manager of the theatre, so we got to meet him backstage.
Oh, right. Okay, very good. If you could travel in time, would you visit the future or the past?
Probably the future, to see like plants and trees and stuff like that have matured that I've planted.
Nice, I like that. And to see if your dahlias grew without being eaten by slugs. What was your proudest gardening moment this year? Well, not this year, last year.
Last year, God, there was loads last year. There were so many cool things that I did last year that I didn't think I'd ever get to do.
Go on then, tell us a few.
Off the top of my head, obviously helping Ben with his show garden at Gardeners World Live was an awesome experience. Seeing you build your show garden at Gardeners World Live was awesome. Going to press days last year is pretty awesome. Seeing the shows before the general public, seeing behind the scenes and stuff like that, that was all pretty cool.
Brilliant. What a list. What a fantastic year you had. Describe your garden in 3 words.
At this moment in time?
Yes.
Wet, frozen,
Okay.
squelchy will be the last one.
I didn't get the second one. What was the second one?
Wet, frozen and squelchy.
Wet, frozen and squelchy. Okay, what about your wet garden?
Beautiful, vast, and a lot of work. Well, that's more than 3 words.
What's your superpower?
Superpower. Having batteries to put in toys constantly.
That's a strong superpower. Yeah, the force is strong with that, especially at this time of year. If you could save one material thing from a fire, what would you save?
Oh, material thing in the house. Probably a Harry Potter book that I've got. That's a limited edition.
Okay, not a gardening book.
No.
Interesting. What's your ultimate karaoke anthem?
I just wouldn't do karaoke. Moroke is more my style.
Yellow flowers, yes or no?
Definitely yes.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I'm glad you're in the yellow flower tribe. Favourite season and why?
Spring, because it's the return of the garden.
Nice. Okay, you survived.
Wait.
The time is up. You did it. You
so much quicker. That felt like about a minute.
I promise it was. I know my time is broken, but I promise. I promise it was. Look how many questions we got through. I think that's the most questions we've ever got through.
We didn't digress
on a live slide. I think you were very succinct with your answers. Good. You were being a man of few words, but it was good. So, is there anything else that you want to add before we go, Mark? What would you like people to know about you? I know what I was going to say about you. So, in recent months, shall we say, you've had a couple of you've put on your account has put on a couple of growth spurts because you had not one but you've had 2 quite major growth spurts where you've had a couple of reels go viral. So you had one go viral sort of fairly in the early days, and then you've had one go viral quite recently, which was a pallet.
Yeah. I had one that was literally me digging up a shrub at work that went viral, and that was not last year, the year before, which sort of propelled me up to the probably 10,000 mark. And then last year, in the middle of the year, I had the pallet one go like ridiculously viral.
Yeah. Chris says Pallet Enterprises in the comments.
21 million views of that, and that's what pushed me to the levels that I am now, which was just craziness. Probably never to be repeated ever again.
Oh, never say never. Never say never. It's quite exciting though, isn't it? So what were you thinking when you were like watching all your numbers going up and up and up? It must have been quite exciting to see all of that.
It is exciting, but it's also quite overwhelming at the same time as well. And I've said to so many people, like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just numbers. Like, I really don't understand how Instagram works in terms of like followers and stuff like that, because it doesn't change anything. Like, I don't suddenly have thousands of emails every day and stuff like that. It's, it hasn't really changed that much. But yeah, obviously, because it's a rare thing for people to have that happen. But,
so you still talk to riffraff like me, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Talk with Jamie and stuff like that.
You're still quite a down to earth kind of guy. You're still speaking to us. It's good to know. No, I think that's really it's really amazing. I watched your palette. I must have watched it about 10 times, and I've got no interest in palettes whatsoever. But what you did was really good. And actually, I'm going to be putting together I've got a polytunnel to put together this spring, and I want to put some raised beds in there. So I've got some pallets from some plant grow deliveries that I had. So I'm going to be using those up. And it's really good to know how to repurpose these things. So
that's the other thing about that reel going viral. Like, the amount of people that messaged me and sent me videos and pictures of their versions of my planter was like, that's just amazing to have inspired so many people.
Yeah.
To, make something out of nothing and have that in their garden. There's how many? Maybe 100 people with one of those pallet planters that I just whipped up on a rainy day, and it's that's what it's all about for me, inspiring.
Yeah, that's got to be a big a very satisfying thing. That's got to be a big payback from that for you, more so than the numbers. Yeah. Definitely, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Chris says, I missed out on the pallet reel. I was inside the office researching plants at the time. I think Chris was saying that he was doing some real gardening, is what he's trying to say.
If only.
Okay, I won't make any comment on that. Moving swiftly on. So what else is in the pipeline for you? What can we expect to see from Gardener Riddler in the coming year? In the next have you got any big plans for the next 12 months, or are you just going to see what happens? Or
see what happens? I think really I haven't got anything in the plans, no show gardens helping out on or anything like that yet. So yeah, if anyone wants me to help out on anything, I'm here to help. I'd be happy to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, nothing major that I can report. Might be some exciting news in the coming weeks, which you know about already, but we can't say yet.
My lips are sealed. Yes. That's true, but okay. So you're keeping an open mind as you go with the flow through the year. I think that's quite a good thing to do. I think in January it's good actually not to be saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, because by the time you get to February, March, and like actually offers start to come in, you'll be so overwhelmed. It's nice just to kind of see what happens and go with the flow and just keep an open mind. I think that's quite a good approach to the year. You've got things sorted out, I think. And the final thing I just want to speak to you before we go is you are an ambassador for Greenfingers charity. And I know that your amazing son, George, I just want to give him a quick plug as well. He did something incredible for Greenfingers charity towards the end of last year. And I want to give him a shout out. Could you just quickly tell everyone what he did?
So George decided that he was going to do a charity walk to raise money for Greenfingers. George obviously has cerebral palsy, which is a physical disability. So he decided, I can't even remember how many miles it was now, but it was plenty, 8 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
That we did from a park nearby, and then it was all the way into Lincoln and up the steep hill. And to be honest, we never thought he'd actually finish the walk. we thought we'd end up carrying him half the way or anything like that, but he was so driven. He was like, no, I am going to do the walk. I'm going to complete the walk. And the sense of satisfaction that he got for actually completing the walk was amazing. Like, it was such an amazing thing to be part of.
Yeah.
And it'll be one of those core memories that you have a long way. There you go, my dad's saying 8.6 miles. He was on part of it.
He was brilliant. You know what? George's determination was it was inspirational, and he was such a determined young lad. And just to see, you could just see he had just made up his mind, and there was no stopping him. He was just like, right, I've decided to do this. And it was also, I think you put out on your story something about he was out for a walk. I think it was with your wife one day. They were walking the dog, and he just decided, I think he just turned to her and said, I'm going to do this. And it came from him. It was something that had come from within him.
Definitely not pushed at all.
Yeah, and he just decided to do that. And he was just so driven to do it and so determined. Yeah. And it was absolutely brilliant what he did. So he raised, how much did he raise in the end? It was more than £1,000, wasn't it?
So I think it was £1,130 before gift aid, and then after gift aid it was like nearly 1,300. And then his grandma managed to get an amount donated from her work, which is Pavers UK, because she works there, and they donated another £500 to Greenfingers. So nearly £2,000 worth of money he raised in the end.
Fabulous.
Which is incredible amount of money.
That is brilliant. Well done, George. And fantastic to be supporting Greenfingers charity, which is a charity very close to both of our hearts.
Definitely.
And very worthwhile charity supporting children's hospices, building gardens for children's hospices around the UK.
And actually, now you're saying this, like all these other things that I've actually done last year, which I should have said, which were more, helping out, actually plant a garden at one of the hospices for Greenfingers was an absolute treat to do. Like, so gratifying to know that, that people are going to use that garden in their time of need. And that was a wonderful experience. So
were you involved in it? Did you you turned up on the day, did you, when it was a planting day, was it?
Yeah, so
the construction had happened and you were there for the planting? Yeah,
it was a revitalisation of an existing garden, so it was a complete new planting plan. And then when we turned up, there was all the pots laid out ready to plant, so it was just like a full-on day of 5 or 6 of us planting all of those plants.
Okay.
Like something like garden makeover. Right? Yeah. Get it all done in a day and it looks fantastic.
So everything, all the pots were placed and you just worked your way along. Oh, that must have been great to see. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. You get extra points. Not that there are points, but if there were, you would get extra for joining me at such short notice.
On top of the leaderboard.
Sorry?
Top of the leaderboard.
Leaderboard, exactly. Top of the Life of 5 leaderboard. You are number 1. So that's definitely number 1 for 2025 already. Yeah. Already smashing it. No, seriously, thanks for joining me, and thanks to everyone who joined and commented. I'm sorry I missed some of the comments.
Canada.
C says hello from Canada. Thank you for joining us from Canada. That's really, really good of you. And I hope everyone's enjoyed. And have a wonderful evening. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this episode of Life of 5, you can also listen to the multitude of other episodes to delight your gardening fancy. You can also view them on Instagram by searching for @DahliaFarmerama. Special thanks to Marc @GardenerRiddler for producing this episode of Life of 5 by working his technical magic.